Hello, everyone. And I wanted to hit that record button. As you will see, there will be several reminders to me to hit that record button. So I had to make sure that happened immediately and welcome you all here now to share my presentation. Hi, I'm so glad you're all here, or at least you sent your AI clone to attend. Any presence is appreciated. My name is Beth Evans, and I'm an associate professor at Brooklyn College of the City University of New York, where I've worked in the library for the past 30 years. And Kelly, my screen is not advancing. Does that mean I should just show it from the editing format?
I'm not sure.
I hit the enter key. Oh, whoop, whoop, there it goes.
There we go.
Oh, right, as promised. Okay, sorry. Okay, I just want to acknowledge founding partners, San Jose State University, School of Information. You've heard from them earlier today. And thanks to the support of the Future of AI. As mentioned, that's me, Beth Evans. I've had a number of responsibilities in my library, Brooklyn College of the City University of New York, where I've worked in the library for the past 30 years. My responsibilities have run the gamut from reference and instruction on through scholarly communication, and further in working in electronic resources management. Each of these areas of my work, which I know mirror work you all have done, has been touched by and could conceivably be augmented and supported, if not replaced, by some iteration of AI. ChatGPT, it is argued, could replace Google, which you may recall, those of us who've been here for a while, was the technological threat that we were told would replace librarians way back in the early days of my career, and that was in the mid-1990s. More recently, with the advent of ChatGPT, we have seen Perplexity, Research Rabbit, and other tools come along as variations of a new sort of reference librarian, promising more accuracy, greater precision, and individualization in the research process. Copilot education, it appears, can take over for us in the classroom. Review Assistant promises to fast-track the peer review process, and AI has been utilized to perform transliterations in the back rooms of technical services and to prepare title lists based on video scans of a bookshelf. And those who were in the earlier session, I'm sure, heard many, many examples of how AI is being used in libraries. Regardless of your job in the library, AI will play a role, and it will be up to us as librarians to figure out how to make sure it plays nice. Liaisoning with classroom faculty as part of our work in academic libraries has always been central in establishing library value for both college faculty and students. When we connect with faculty on campus, we have an opportunity to promote both our resources and our expertise and reach large groups of students at a time. In any engagement with faculty members and their students, we as the visiting or welcoming librarian understand that the classroom faculty are the ones who have established the parameters for their classes. What is allowed and what is not allowed has already been spelled out by the teacher. In our role, librarians must do a delicate dance of respecting the limitations demanded by the classroom teacher, and yet, when it seems appropriate or beneficial, pushing the boundaries as far as it appears this will be tolerated towards new avenues and methods of research. Communication and trust are said to be central to any librarian-teacher collaboration. My research was an effort to determine what the current thinking was among classroom faculty as to the appropriateness or usefulness of artificial intelligence tools for student assignments and research, and whether or not the faculty would welcome a librarians introducing such tools into library instruction sessions. My study provides a snapshot of a single institution, my institution, at a very particular time and place. I administered the survey in the fall of 2023, shortly before ChatGPT celebrated its first birthday, and I surveyed a wide range of faculty. In terms of the time periods marked by technological advancement, the 5 or 6 months since I administered the survey might be seen as an eternity ago. And if any of you were to administer a similar survey, or even if I were to resend the survey to all of the same participants I surveyed before, it is likely that the answers would be quite different at this time. So now let me show you what I learned through this research, so that even if the data would not be matched if it were gathered today, we can consider together the possible range of reactions that faculty might have to artificial intelligence being part of the research process, and the role librarians can play as instructors, given the ubiquity of AI. So I did the survey. I shared the survey with 199 faculty and got 74 responses. If you can see the tiny print at the bottom, this indicates each of the departments of respondents. And as you see in the pie chart, the largest number of responses came from English, history, sociology. I am trying to advance the slide. Not sure why. Oh, do you have any alternatives for how to get a slide going other than the enter key?
The arrow button on your keyboard, perhaps?
I think it may need a new keyboard. Let me, and now the escape button. I seem to have a frozen, oops. Oh my goodness. Please bear with me. I'm sure you all are familiar with technology and recognize that this happens. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead to the next slide this way. Okay, if that's acceptable, because I seem to be having trouble advancing. Okay, so breaking down the participation into the broader disciplines, history, English, sociology fall in our college within humanities and social sciences, which are seen collectively under one dean. Now, why is it that there seemed to be such an interest in responding to a survey related to artificial intelligence, particularly in these subject areas? I was curious about that. And what occurred to me is that most of the writing in the popular publications for higher education that were looking at artificial intelligence really had zeroed in on ChatGPT specifically, even though there were there was software, AI software out there that was serving other functions other than text. For example, DALL-E, most of the attention was going towards ChatGPT and what that meant in the academy. In fact, when I did a review of about 10 months of publications in Chronicle of Higher Ed and Inside Higher Ed on the subject, specifically the keyword ChatGPT, I found many results in that time period of articles that mentioned the software and just a few that touched on DALL-E as another piece of software that might have been examined. I also looked at EBSCO Education Source database and observed similar results, that ChatGPT was the subject that was concerning most. So clearly there was an interest in what was going on in higher ed in terms of writing. And we're all probably aware of this. These are several of the questions from my survey. It was a very brief survey, but in ultimately finding out what faculty were interested in terms of how a librarian could deliver instruction that touched on using AI, I was interested in how the faculty themselves had introduced or not introduced a topic in their courses. There was so much buzz on campus about the threat of it, not so much buzz about its possible usefulness. So I wanted to know, what were they actually doing before they even considered what the librarian might do? So I asked them, did you introduce it in a syllabus? Did you actually give it as part of an assignment, it being artificial intelligence tools, or did it come up in some discussion? I wanted to know if students had introduced the topic or if the faculty had with intention brought up the topic of artificial intelligence. And I wanted to know what they said about it. And also tools they might have introduced other than the well-known ChatGPT. So here's what I found. The purple, we'll start with that, very small. Very few faculty said that the topic came up purely because students introduced it. More said they did bring up the topic, that's the green. Fewer said it didn't come up at all, they didn't bring it up. Now, of those who brought up the subject, the majority introduced it in terms of rule setting in the syllabus. Some also said it came up through discussion, and a number that was worth looking at said they actually included AI in an assignment, so it would be required for use. I did want to know other tools that we used. So, for example, bots were used, and those of us who do, for example, virtual reference in our libraries, and those of us who exist on this planet and have interacted with some customer service interface through a service or a product provider have run into bots. These are automated chat systems that are essentially programmed with FAQs. And some libraries, there's one in our system that uses it as a sort of front to its human service, chat service. A couple were using translation or involving students in using translate software, AI software like DeepL, Google Translate. One music professor had, which I think was probably Piano Genie, she had students doing duets with AI software. And the bottom comment I think was particularly interesting because it was an acknowledgement, and I think we've all recognized this, that AI has actually been integrated into commonly used software for a long time. Spell checking on word processors, and we certainly wouldn't tell students not to use the spell checker. It's been used, and the faculty are well aware of that. So here are some of the things that were said about AI by the faculty in their interactions with the students. They fall into essentially what I found were 4 categories. The 4th one is on the next slide. But I saw the responses as being either prohibitive, rules were imposed, simply don't use it, or they were cautionary because, not so much in the camp of you absolutely do not use it, but more of like why you shouldn't use it. And as one faculty member said, I suppose I can't stop you, but please tell me if you use it, because I prefer that you're honest about it. And then there were preventative comments, which essentially were trying to put a roadblock up between the students and AI by saying, you may think of using it, but it's not even going to work for the assignment I've given you. So that was an interesting way to approach the software with the students. Of course, the most proactive were those who had comments related to using it deliberately, choosing, instructing students to use it. But why? Why were they asking students to use it? So one example, the course was in media literacy, and it was part of a discussion about evolution of digitization. So it made sense contextually to be in that course. A business course, the faculty had insisted that the students use AI to review their cover letters. So there was a strong interest in its ability to perfect or improve cover letters. A very interesting thing that happened in the fall at our institution was that all of the introduction to composition class faculty were asked to have the students read Ted Chiang's article that appeared in the New Yorker shortly after ChatGPT came on the scene. And it was discussed as a way to have the students start to think very critically about, what is this AI and what does it mean for me? What does it mean if I use it rather than doing my own writing? And then here's the very librarian focused answer that I think we all, since I'm assuming most of us here are librarians, where a faculty member acknowledged that students might want to use AI. He didn't prohibit them from doing that, but he does say, he suggests they not rely on it for the academic research, but check out or specifically read peer-reviewed sources such as journal articles. So that's a real, nod in our direction that we would all approve of, that people may be using it, but take a look at other ways of finding material and see what you think comparatively. So I thought it was particularly interesting that the faculty had shared assignments that they had given that included the use of AI. The one I highlighted used ChatGPT and PubMed to do the same literature search and compare. Again, this is a bona fide librarians approved sort of assignment because it's encouraging students to use the tools that we've always asked them to use. Use what you see is out there new on the horizon, but consider what's the difference between one and the other and the results you get. So here what you might see is the heart of the research, which is the big question: are faculty concerned about librarians introducing ChatGPT or AI in the library instruction session? And the good news is that the majority said, no, they're not concerned. And as there are another comments I have here, what I actually highlighted though, because it is so profoundly in the position that we would consider, I think one of the speakers this morning referred to these people as the deniers. This was a philosophy professor, so maybe no surprise there, but I would actually read what he said because it is so strongly worded. My strong preference would be to disengage from technologies that either harm, threaten, or seriously affect human flourishing. AI might be the greatest current threat to human flourishing. I strongly discourage any and all use of AI in academic settings. I will not participate in any workshops or events that make use of AI, and I will discourage colleagues and students from participating in them. How? Okay. Differently, though, our Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences was as curious as I was as to what was the attitude and what were the practices on campus around AI. And as he found, the range of responses was wide, from total rejection, as we just heard, to a kind of shrugging of the shoulders. And I imagine in the in-between space, we had the people who were enthusiastic and embracing it. So I asked for additional thoughts from faculty, got quite a few. I broke them down into several categories of my own making, and I'll just jump right to each of these areas. So there were faculty who felt, nope, not going to do it on my watch, doesn't work for my subject. I have to say, I found the number of faculty who said, no, there's no application for this in my subject area. As a librarian who is always curious to, validate or verify something that's stated, I took a look in the literature to find out if AI had been used in one of these areas, anatomy and physiology. Faculty had said, no use for it here. And of course, I found an article that indicates teaching and learning, assessing anatomy with artificial intelligence. So I did not follow up with the faculty member and say, it has been used in your area. But I think that one of the fast answers people will supply when they're asked, would you use it? Do you use it? Is like, doesn't apply. I've heard people say that, for example, my minister said she will never be replaced, but I believe you can find AI-generated sermons out there. So ambivalence. Many were not really sure what to make of it. Someone said he responded to his department. I don't think I don't think there's any fail-safe strategy to preventing cheating. And since the technology is fast evolving, even the most brilliant professors are likely to be several steps behind AI tools that aggregate zillions of sources of information and data. So I think this faculty member is voicing the kind of feeling I think many of us have had at certain times in our career, particularly because we all work in libraries and we interface with technology so often and always, is that technology changes rapidly. Young people, those of us who work in colleges, are often around young people, although the demographics aren't consistently that. But so many of the young people are the ones who are teaching us or indicating to us that there are tools out there that we haven't even, we're not even aware of. And by the time we become aware of them, they've been replaced by something else. There were a number of comments indicating that, we're either talking about it, meaning AI, or we should be talking about it. But we all, those of us who work in academia know that talking is one of our favorite activities, not just us, colleagues across the campus. So, there's definitely been a lot of talk, but what about the action? There were faculty who said, I'm not there yet. And you have to appreciate their hesitancy. As a professor and a good friend of mine from Africana Studies said, more of how it can be useful can be important, but I'd rather not use ChatGPT at all, not right now at least. So this is even in her answer, there's this kind of wavering of like, no, it's not for me. I realize maybe I should think about it, but I'm not quite ready yet. I appreciated especially those who acknowledge that it's out there and to say that we need to not bury our heads in the sand about AI around our students. I like the fact that someone in our School of Education said it's a tool that exists, so they need to be taught about it. I've had conversations with colleagues, in fact, there's one here right now, about people we know using AI in their careers, in their professional lives, and our students will be underprepared for the so-called real world if we pretend or prohibit, pretend that AI doesn't exist or prohibit its use and don't recognize how we have to make these tools part of how we educate, because students are going into a real world where they will be using these tools. And finally, my favorite category is a lot of comments that came in, and there may be some bias in terms of the survey. Faculty knew that I was administering the survey. They know I'm a librarian on campus. And so there were a number of comments that came in that were very supportive of the role of the library in teaching about AI. As an American Studies professor said, information scientists and librarians are the best equipped to keep us informed about its prevalence and uses. Someone said 100% support librarians presenting this information. Our music professor said that she was glad to see the library is assisting students and faculty with AI and its uses. Librarians are information experts, after all. And someone's curious, I wouldn't mind being in a workshop that was led by librarians. More pro-librarian comments on the next screen. Sociology, a number of sociology professors appreciating that the library is thinking about this. How, I hope the library can show us how to use ChatGPT constructively. Another philosophy professor, not the one we heard from earlier, said I had no concerns because I trust our librarians to give a balanced introduction to these tools, making the ethical and practical drawbacks clear. Finally, wrapping up there, it's good the library is thinking about doing this. So I'm going to end with the customary contact information slide. before I put in that early slide about how to keep people from being bored while watching a PowerPoint presentation with a presenter drones on and on, which is what I did for the past 25 minutes, I thought, oh, I've got to have something in here that was created by AI because, as you've probably all seen in many, many presentations on the topic, the standard procedure is you must include some text or something that was generated by AI. So I found a tool called Tome, and it will create PowerPoint slides for you. And I asked it to create a contact slide, a final slide. It gave me a theme that was called Ocean. So my prompt, I asked it to create a beautiful slide with images of oceans and my contact information, which is there. I also have a QR code that unfortunately will fail. That should lead you to this page, but apparently you need to be logged into Tome in order to have that QR code take you to this specific page. So I thank you all very much for coming. I was told I need to make sure you have a few minutes to escape from this room and make it over to the next one. And let's see. I think we have.
We don't have any questions, but a lot of echoing the differences between the disciplines and how enthusiastic they are, and different responses to librarians approaching faculty, again, with either no or interest, and interesting tools shared by an Indigenous majority serving institution on how they use ChatGPT to get through academia that I think could be helpful for all students, really.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good one, everybody. Bye now.